Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squad for boxing news and views from around the internet. Is Andy Ruiz Jr. using inside information to his advantage in public? In recent days, he stated that he's the A side, he calls the shots, he won't be travelling to the UK for the rematch with Anthony Joshua, that it has to be in the United States or Mexico. And there has been some fans that have been lapping this up, Andy Ruiz saying that he's calling the shots here, but some of this sort of got me thinking about the realities of the situation, and he is privy to conversations about the rematch and where it's going to be held. And part of the situation with where this goes is really out of his hands. If you remember, he was signed to fight Joshua the first time around at short notice. He would have signed a very lopsided contract that really didn't give him much leeway to really negotiate in terms of where the rematch was held and the terms and other bits and pieces. It'll be an ironclad contract put together by an army of lawyers. So some of the talk of, I call the shots, I'm really not convinced. And we've already heard publicly ahead of those statements by Ruiz that the rematch was likely to be in one of either two places, that it was narrowed down to either being in New York in late November or in the UK in early December. So it's not a huge stretch to go, well, it's one of those two places is more likely than the other. And if he has access to inside information, he'll be involved in signing contracts and agreements and other bits and pieces. There'll be information that is passed back and forth, because we know that there's been negotiations going on for the rematch. He will certainly have a good steer on where things are going. So I've sort of been thinking about this whole situation, and to me, what this tells me is that New York is the front runner at this point. I mean, ultimately things could change and they could ultimately opt for a fight in the UK, but publicly, just days after the loss in June, Joshua stated that he would like to come back to New York. He was open to that. And Eddie Hearn has said publicly that Joshua, with the sense of occasion, come back, right the wrong, all that sort of thing. So New York being the location for the rematch, it wouldn't be a surprise, it wouldn't be a shock. But I think in this situation, some of what Andy Ruiz Jr. is doing is using some of the inside information that he's privy to help create a narrative and help build the rematch, because even though it's going to be a very big fight at the end of the year, it can always be bigger. Andy Ruiz Jr. and Anthony Joshua, they can drum up more interest by doing things like this. And Ruiz Jr. as well, being the champion, he doesn't really want people to be aware that he probably has less say in the rematch and its location and some of the terms for the fight than he actually does. He wants people to believe that, he's on top here and that he calls the shots. And I guess if it does land in New York, some people will believe that he was the one that forced it to New York, regardless of whether that's actually true or not. But I guess with the rematch now is there has been a bit of a delay, at least, in it actually getting announced. Best part of a month ago, June 19th, Eddie Hearn said that Anthony Joshua would be making decisions the following week on where and when, all that sort of stuff. And then on July 7, Hearn posted on social media, news coming soon. You can see that here on screen. And we're, about 10 days on from that now? So, what is the holdup? I mean, it doesn't actually mean that there's an issue. There could be all manner of peripheral issues that they have to strap down. I mean, there has been some chatter that they're looking to organise a pretty big card, and it may not just be on the one day. There may be some other associated events over the weekend. We'll see what happens, because they'll want to make the most of this opportunity. And remember, boxing is a business after all. If they can make more money in New York and they can squeeze every last cent out of the rematch, they will certainly be looking to do that. And there could also be the possibility that they're waiting to get clear of Dillian Whyte's fight week, which we are in right now at the time of this video being published. And remember, last weekend and this weekend, they're actually among the busiest of the heavyweight schedule of the year to date. So it wouldn't make sense to announce it. You want to get clear of that. And also, just judging by Joshua's social media, he's been traveling. So an announcement is probably unlikely to come while he's on the road. I think he's been in Nigeria or something. So we'll probably get an announcement at some point, maybe towards the end of the month. Maybe it'll even be early August. But I guess in the intervening period, people will be speculating about what's going on. There's a bit of an information vacuum. It's gone quiet. People will be wondering, is something wrong? But just because it's gone quiet doesn't actually mean something's wrong. Often it means that things are actually getting done behind the scenes. It's when there's all sorts of chatter, that's when you really have to worry about what's actually happening. So I'm not too worried that there has been a delay. I mean, if it's going to be the end of November, still plenty of time. And this is going to be a very big rematch, so I don't think there's any sort of doubt that it will sell out whichever location it lands in, either in Cardiff or New York. But I do think Andy Ruiz Jr., who is privy to inside information, has been using the inside information to his advantage. I mean, even if he's not, he's taking advantage of the vacuum of information to drum up some headlines for him. And he's obviously been building his brand, building his profile since that win. And evidence of that was he just passed through 1 million Instagram followers the other day. You can see here he's put up a post on that. So in his own right now, Ruiz is a big name. And he can be even bigger if he beats Joshua at the end of the year. Because at that point, he's no longer beholden to any terms or obligations because the rematch is done and dusted. He can go off and do his own thing. But until then, he is bound by whatever he signed ahead of the first fight. And I'm sure the rematch can't come soon enough for him, as well as Anthony Joshua, who is looking to right the wrong as he sees it. But what do you make of it all? Drop a comment, loud and often. Hit like, hit subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. I'm out.